Hey, hey! Welcome everyone to my little corner of the YouTube universe. My name is Tracy Verdugo and I'm an Australian mixed media artist. I live in a little village by the sea on the south coast of New South Wales in Australia. And I live with my husband Marco and two kitty cats, Rumi and Luna. I'm also a mum of two beautiful daughters and a grandma of two gorgeous granddaughters who live close enough that I get to see them every week, which is fantastic. Anyways, so if you're new here to this channel, welcome, and please feel free to scroll through the archives and find lots and lots of tutorials and sketchbook explorations and other musings, other creative musings. And today, what I want to share with you is actually a part of a series of videos that originally were shared exclusively on my Patreon community to my Patreon patrons, which I actually closed up last August 2023. After a year of running the community, I loved it, but I just had far too much on my plate and I was just finding it hard to fit all the things in, and so that was the thing that had to go, unfortunately, so that I could spend more time with you here on YouTube, with my alumni community in Facebook, and all of the students that do my online classes around the world. I think we've had something like 60,000 people take my online classes over the past 2014, since 2014, over the past 11 years since I've been creating online classes. I also teach in person at workshops here in Australia and retreats all over the world. So in about 17 days, Marco and I are getting ready to head off to Europe, where I'll be teaching 3-week-long retreats, 2 of them in Italy, Sicily and Le Marche, and 1 in Portugal. And we're also getting ready to launch the 2026 retreats very soon. So if you'd like to put yourself on the interested list for that, please comment down below and I can send you a link to add your name to the first to know, because they do sell out very quickly. Next year, 2026, we're looking at Scotland, Portugal and Greece. Oh my gosh, so exciting. So because we're going to be away for 12 weeks and we're leaving in 17 days, I thought it would be a great opportunity to share with you some of those Patreon videos from my community, which is no longer in effect. Is that the right word? Which is no longer running. And today's video, I really loved doing this one. This was a voted tutorial on Patreon, and I find that we can gather so much inspiration from other artists, and especially from the great masters, and some of my favorites, Matisse and Picasso and Klimt, and I'm forgetting Chagall. How can I forget Chagall? Probably my greatest inspiration of all. Anyway, so often I'll pull out works from artists who are no longer with us and find inspiration within them to create something new. So in today's video, I wanted to revisit something that I love to do, which is to create very simple prints. Now I'm thinking about doing a new online class around this topic of creating simple prints. And so one of those ways of doing that is to make monoprints using either, you can use just regular transparency paper. There are lots and lots of ways that you can do it. So what I'm going to share with you today is a painting, a monoprint, which is after Picasso. So it's inspired by one of Picasso's paintings, and one of the series that I absolutely adore, which is, and I can't remember where he was holidaying, but he was holidaying somewhere very tropical with a beautiful window, and the pigeons would come down and sit on his window every day, and he did a whole series of paintings looking through the windows and with the pigeons sitting on the windowsill, quite abstract. And so I thought I'd take one of those paintings and see how I could recreate it using these monoprint techniques. So enjoy. I hope you give it a try for yourself. I'd love to hear what you think about the video. If you are new here, please like and subscribe so you get you have my videos in your feed, and then you can catch up with whatever tutorials I share every week. So lots of love out to you all. Enjoy the lesson, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now. Hey everyone, hi lovely patrons, and welcome to this month's voted monthly Patreon tutorial. It was a bit of a close run this month, but the Monoprint Magic won out. So I guess you're all looking for a little magic in your world this month, or most of you anyway. So what I'll do next month is I'll add in some of the ones that were close runners up so that, you know, they get a chance again as well. It's been quite some time since I've done a monoprint. So when I saw that that was the one that won, I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, it really has been maybe 2 years, I'd say, since I've done a monoprint. But one of the things I love doing, especially if I'm trying to get back into it, and I haven't done it for a while, one of the things I love to do is to either find an image from a magazine or one of my photos or somebody else's art. I mean, this is just a study, right? So this is not something that we're doing for sale or anything like that to add to our Instagram. Unless if you're going to add it to your Instagram, you would actually specify we did this monoprint study after Picasso. So Picasso, obviously everybody knows who Picasso is, Pablo Picasso. We went to the Picasso Museum in Barcelona a couple of years ago, or actually 2019. And it was amazing to me the diversity of work he did in his life, from very detailed sketches to his, cubism phase, to some rather dark phases, to some kind of a strange series where he took, I can't remember the name of the artist, but he took the works of, I think, a 15th century or 16th century artist, and then he kind of retold the story of those works in his own more modernist way. And then, of course, through to his later works of very abstract faces. Out of the whole lot, this was my favorite series. And this series was called Las Meninas, the Doves, and there were 14 in this series. And I'm pretty sure I got to see all 14 of them. And they were his behind-the-scenes paintings of his studio, when the little doves would come by and nest, and his balcony. And I just love the immediacy of them, the colors, the really bold brush strokes, the playfulness, the childlike naivety, all of that. And I thought this image would lend itself really well to this monoprinting magic tutorial. Now, when you're monoprinting, you can use some different things. What I generally use is just a piece of transparency paper. You can still buy it online, and I think you buy it, like by 50 sheets or 100 sheets. It's not very expensive. So I've always got these in the studio. But you could also use a piece of glass. If you've got, an old frame and the frame's no good, you could take the glass out of it. Or you could use a piece of Perspex. So anything that you can kind of paint on and then transfer onto paper. Now, this one is just about the right size. So I'm going to do this little kind of, it's funny. I was just about to say cheating technique, but I don't think anything is cheating, because different artists use different methods to create their art. Some people will set up a projector and project their image onto their canvas. That's not cheating. What if you even kind of work from a photo? Is that cheating? No, these are all just tools, okay? So a fabulous tool to learn about monoprinting, a fabulous method to learn about monoprinting is to actually just paint directly from the image that you are working from, the image that you're being inspired by, and then try out what it feels like to actually print down how much paint is enough, how much paint is too little, How long will it take for the paint to dry? How much time do you have to actually press it down onto your page, etc., etc. Now, the first thing we're going to do before I even put any paint onto this transparency sheet is we want to figure out where the corners are of our image. So I need a pencil, and I'm just going to draw in some corners so that I can try and match those up every time I lay the transparency down. You could even do this, you know, if you have one of your own photos that you were working from, you could do it on a larger sheet of watercolor paper so that you actually had more border around it. And take this off. Now I know that every time I paint on this and I press it down, I have to kind of line it up here before I do so. Just thinking about, because it's been so long, I'm thinking about the tools that I need. All right, I've got some acrylic paints around me and I've got some acrylic gouache. I'm really not sure what colors I'm going to use, but I don't want to do an exact kind of translation. I'd like it to be a little bit different. So let's see. I think I'm just going to go straight from the tube mostly rather than mix today. And so let's do this. Let's just begin. It's fairly hot here today, so I wouldn't go and try and paint everything onto this transparency sheet at one time. You can do multiple prints, okay? So you can kind of come back and forth and do multiple prints of what you're working on. So let's start with, this is not quite as wide, so I'm just gonna like make it a little bit thinner. But I'm going to start with, let's see. I think I'm going to start with the interior. I'm going to start with some green. This is an Amsterdam olive green deep. And the beautiful thing about these strokes is that they are lovely and messy and painterly. And so we can do just the same if this is the image that you're going to follow with me. So nice kind of dry brush. Let's hold our transparency in one place and let's just get some green happening. And we're going to be printing over the top. So we're just going to be doing a few things at a time because we don't want the paint to dry. All right, I think that's almost all my green. There's a little bit of green along here. So let's just print that down and we'll see how the weather is today. We'll see whether we could do a little bit more than that. So we're going to line it up with the bottom corners, and hopefully that means that the top corners will also fall into the right place. Almost, close enough. You can also use a credit card. So you don't want to put too much paint on. If you put too much paint on, you'll get it spreading in ways that you don't want it to spread. Now let's just have a little look and see whether this is transferred well. Yep, well enough. And we'll just move this to one side while we work on the next bit. Line it up again, and let's pull in some ice green, I think, for the water. So I think I'll do ice green for the water, and then I will do That's in the acrylic gouache in the Holbein, and then I'll do some Amsterdam acrylic in Sky Blue Light for the sky. And there's also a little bit of, I might try and work really fast here. There's also a little bit of violet in there. So I'm going to use just what I have in front of me, this pale lilac, and maybe mix it a little bit with the blue. All right, let's see how fast we can do this. I'm going to grab another brush so that I don't wet this green brush. You can leave the green on there, there's no need to wash in between. But we're going to, you know what, I think this needs to be deeper, this water. So I'm actually going to use a little bit of acrylic ink. Because it's acrylic, it will mix with the acrylic wash. So that's marine blue. And I'm going to see what color that kind of comes up with for the water. Yeah, just a little bit deeper. All right, so that's there, that's there. All right, let's get this water in. And come over to the sky. A bit lighter. A little bit of the lilac. And we could also do some things on top. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull all of this down here. And we can paint some little details on top if we want to. All right, let's turn this over. It's a bit of a process, and you'll see also that the image is reversed, obviously. Let's try and match up again. These corners. We're not looking for perfection, so don't worry if things kind of spill out a little bit. Oh, that's nice. Nice. All right, next step. It's very much a back and forth, right? How many brushes will we need? Okay, which one shall I do next? I think I'm going to use a different brush again. I won't leave these out for too long because I don't want them to dry. And let's bring out some, mix a little bit of this red. This is Amsterdam. It is Pyrrole Red. I'm going to mix with a little bit of mustard, only because these are the things I have in front of me. So acrylic gouache in mustard. I'll put the mustard on the side. Whoops. Nope. Nothing left in that one. Need to get another one. Good thing I have lots of mustard. One of my favorite colors in the acrylic gouache. Okay. So, let's do mustard first. Now just be aware that this is the edge of the transparency sheet. So pull it in a little. Oops, I just painted on Picasso. Okay, so here we go. Line it up. Now, the drying time of the paint will vary depending on where you are in the world. If it's really super humid, you might only be able to do a few things at a time, as it is here. Or I mean, not super humid. If it's super hot and dry, you might only be able to do a few things at a time, as I am doing. It's still coming out fairly dry. So what I'm realizing here is that there's not a whole lot of contrast. So I want to add in some contrast. So I'm going to add in some of these black lines and see whether that begins to pull it together. Let's try some burnt umber with a bit of this dark green and see if we can create a dark, almost black color. Oh, this one has run out too, maybe. Oh no, a little bit there. Okay, let's go bold with the dark and pop it in wherever we see it. Line it up. Okay. It is super dry here. So I'm not getting a whole bunch down on the page. I'm going to persevere. Because that's what we do when we're learning, right? We keep on going. We push through. Okay, what I want to do now is bring some white back in. Actually, I have another idea. What I think I'm going to do is paint these little birds in blue and then bring some white back over the top of them. And then while I'm doing that, so let's just do a little circle. When I bring the white back over the top of the dried blue, then they will, I can scratch through, and I think that will work well. While I'm doing this, let's pop him on there. Let's pop this up here. And this one here. And I'm going to re-establish the water. Get another coat on. Get a little bit more sky on. And see what happens when we do a second layer. Lost my credit card. There it is. It looks much better on the transparency, right? Because it's just not coming through enough. But that's better. Look, that's better with the second coat. Okay. So we might just have to really persevere. And the other thing we can do is we can actually add some line work in to enhance. But what I want to do first is bring that white in and scratch through. All right, let's use a bamboo skewer and let's scratch through. To create this little bird. And then up here, there are also some little squigglies. Let's see how that goes. Not on there. I knew I would almost do that at some point. I hope you haven't done that yet. Interesting. All right, so what we have to see is what's missing, and I'm just wondering if we add a little bit of line work in, some ink line work, whether things would start to kind of fall into place a bit better. You know, as I said, this is not an exact science, and it's actually a little bit frustrating today, but I'm going to power through. Sometimes you have successes and other times you don't, and I want you guys to be well aware of that. Now, let's see. Let's get our image back again. I really want to strengthen those darks, and I think I'm just going to add in some of the little pieces that have not showed up. So, and I'm going to keep to that painterly brush stroke so that we'll still have glimpses of the monoprint underneath, but we'll also have something else happening. All right. I don't think I'm going to talk through this, so well, I may talk just to tell you the colors so that I can remember them myself. And then I also have to remember everything is back to front. I think this is doing my brain in. All right, line work first. Line work first. If you want to know what my head is really thinking right now, I'm thinking maybe I'll turn this off and just start again. So, but I'm not going to. Whether or not you will ever see it, I do not know. But I'm going to push through until I'm at a happier place. So if this is back to front, then the palm tree is here. I'm going to hold my brush very loosely and just put in what I think I see. I kind of feel like we need an ultramarine blue in here. Or maybe cerulean. Let's do cerulean. Cerulean blue in the golden fluid acrylic. And I'm going to scrub that in onto here. Better. And I'm going to also take a little bit along the horizon line. And just scumble it down. Some of this olive green into this mustard, and let's get a little bit more happening down here. Just a bit of variation, a bit more paint on, but nice dry brush. Better. And again, let's bring some of it up here as well. Again, dry brush. Now I know I've abandoned the monoprinting, but it's still under there. Like I wouldn't be able to get this effect if I didn't have that underlayer there. Okay, and then we'll do a little bit of here. And teeny little tree here. touch of a lighter green along the edge here, and then some white and purple mixed. It's starting to look very Picasso, don't you think? Okay. Then we'll do a little white patch up here. There is just add a bit of color to this light color here. Add a little bit of strength to some areas of the mustard, not all, just a couple. Looking at where these hints of color, hint onto here, hint onto here, a hint here, and just filling in those areas. Right. And I'm thinking I want to make a little addition to Picasso's painting. I want to add in just a little sailboat up in the distance. Maybe bird flying through the air, a couple of birds, and then I'm going to bring in some black ink or some Payne's grey ink, and I'm going to do a little bit of line work where I can see it. So I'll strengthen this up a bit. And underneath here, we've got a little birdie face with a beak. So this is just Payne's grey acrylic ink. Whoop. A little bit too much, but that's okay. Let's do some of these little feathers like that. And then where else do we have? We have some black coming up here. We have a black over here. If you don't want to do this with a dropper, you could do it with a brush, or you could do it with putting the ink on here and actually lifting it with a bamboo skewer or with a brush. I'm pretty used to working with the ink. This one here. Just putting in that dark where I see it. So a little bit over here as well. And then there are some little things here. This. This little guy is sitting on a fence. Little bird up here. I'm just going to finish it off really quickly with just some fun little bamboo skewer lines. If you want to be really loose, just hold your brush right at the end. Just using up the leftover paint and adding in some little embellishments where I see them. And last of all, I'm going to thicken just a few of those black lines and leave the rest as they are. One teeny tiny little bit of lilac missing from here. And we're going to call it done. So there's my version of Picasso's Las Meninas, the Doves #1. And let's call it half monoprint and half overpaint. But as I said to you, without the monoprint underlayer, we would not have been able to achieve the effect that we have with, you know, lots of these beautiful skipping bits up to the underneath, to the paper underneath, then just with the addition of a little bit of painterly brush strokes and a little bit of ink, we've got something that's quite fun and I think works quite well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this, and please share in our Patreon community or on our Facebook VIP group if you actually give it a go. And I'd love to see you also work with some of your own imagery as well, or some different things, and tell me tell me how you go with it. Okay, bye for now.